I never thought a simple Facebook notification could change my life. But there it was, blinking on my screen. Friend request from Sarah Thompson. My heart skipped a beat. Sarah Thompson, my high school sweetheart, the girl I'd never truly forgotten. 50 years had passed since we'd last spoken, yet seeing her name brought a flood of memories. With trembling fingers, I clicked accept. Seconds later, a message popped up. Hi Tom, remember me? It's been a while. A while? Half a century felt more like it. But as I stared at those words, time seemed to melt away. Suddenly, I was 17 again, nervous and excited about our first date. I hesitated. Should I respond? What if she was just being polite? What if? No, I couldn't let fear hold me back. Not again. Taking a deep breath, I began to type. As Sarah and I exchanged messages, it was like opening a time capsule. We reminisced about our favorite hangout spots, the songs we danced to at prom, and the dreams we once shared. Remember that picnic by Miller's Creek? Sarah asked. When you tried to impress me by catching a fish with your bare hands? I laughed out loud. How could I forget? I ended up soaked and empty-handed, but you kissed me anyway. With each memory, the years between us seemed to fade. We talked about our lives since high school, our careers, our families, our joys and sorrows. I learned that Sarah had lost her husband 2 years ago. I told her about my divorce a decade earlier. As we shared our stories, I felt a familiar warmth spreading through my chest. It was a feeling I hadn't experienced in years, a mixture of comfort and excitement, like coming home after a long journey. But a nagging doubt lingered. Could we really reconnect after all this time? Or were we just clinging to the past? 2 weeks of constant messaging later, Sarah suggested we meet for coffee. My palms were sweaty as I waited at the cafe, feeling like a teenager on his first date. When she walked in, time stood still. Her hair was silver now, and laugh lines framed her eyes, but her smile, that smile that had captured my heart all those years ago, was exactly the same. Tom, she said softly, and pulled me into a hug. We talked for hours, our coffee growing cold as we shared stories and laughed at old jokes. It felt so natural, so right, as if the universe had finally realigned. As the cafe was closing, Sarah took my hand. I've missed you, she said simply. In that moment, I knew. This wasn't just nostalgia. This was a second chance at love. Over the next few months, Sarah and I fell into a comfortable routine. We'd meet for lunch, take long walks in the park, or simply sit and talk for hours. We weren't the same people we'd been in high school, of course. Life had changed us, shaped us. But somehow, the core of who we were, the part of us that had fallen in love all those years ago, remained unchanged. One evening, as we watched the sunset from my back porch, Sarah turned to me. You know, I always wondered what might have been if we hadn't gone our separate ways after graduation. I nodded, feeling a mix of regret and hope. Me too. But maybe this is our chance to find out? She smiled and leaned her head on my shoulder. We didn't need words to express what we both felt, gratitude for this unexpected gift of renewed love. Of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Merging two lives after 50 years apart came with its challenges. We had different habits, different expectations. Sometimes, the weight of our past relationships cast shadows on our new beginning. But we faced each hurdle together, with patience and understanding. We learned to communicate openly, to compromise, and to appreciate our differences as much as our similarities. Our families were supportive, if a bit surprised at first. My daughter joked that she never expected her dad to have a girlfriend at 68. Sarah's son said he hadn't seen his mom smile so much in years. With each challenge we overcame, our bond grew stronger. We weren't just reliving our past. We were building a future together. On our one-year re-anniversary, I took Sarah back to Miller's Creek. We sat by the water, holding hands and reminiscing about that long-ago picnic. Sarah, I said, my heart pounding, 50 years ago. I let you go without telling you how I really felt. I'm not making that mistake again. I pulled out a small box and opened it to reveal a ring. Will you marry me? Tears glistened in her eyes as she nodded. Yes, Tom. Yes. As we kissed, I marveled at life's unexpected twists. Who would have thought that at 68, I'd be starting a new life with my high school sweetheart? Our story isn't just about rekindling an old flame. It's about second chances, about the enduring power of love, and about the beautiful surprises life can offer, even when you least expect them. So if you're out there, wondering if you've missed your chance at love, remember our story. Because sometimes, the best chapters of our lives are yet to be written. Planning a wedding at 68 is quite different from planning one at 18. Sarah and I opted for a small, intimate ceremony in my backyard, the same place where we had rekindled our love watching sunsets together. Our children and grandchildren gathered around us as we exchanged vows. Sarah looked radiant in a simple cream dress, her silver hair adorned with a crown of flowers. As I slipped the ring on her finger, I couldn't help but think how perfectly it fit, just like us. "I've waited 50 years to call you my wife," I said, my voice thick with emotion, "and I promise to cherish every day we have together." Sarah's eyes sparkled with tears and joy. "Better late than never," she whispered, and the gathering erupted in laughter and cheers. That day marked not just the beginning of our marriage, but the blending of our families. Watching our grandchildren play together, Sarah and I marveled at the beautiful, expanded family we now shared. Marriage in our golden years brought a renewed sense of adventure. We decided to make up for lost time by traveling the world together, something neither of us had done much of before. Our first trip was to Paris, the city of love. We strolled hand in hand along the Seine, shared croissants in quaint cafes, and kissed atop the Eiffel Tower. Sarah's eyes lit up with wonder at each new sight, and I fell in love with her all over again. "You know," Sarah said one evening as we sipped wine in a cozy bistro, "I always dreamed of seeing the world. I never imagined I'd be doing it with you, after all these years." I raised my glass in a toast, to dreams deferred, but not denied. We returned home with hearts full of memories and a long list of places we still wanted to explore together. Our newfound happiness faced its first real test 2 years into our marriage when I was diagnosed with heart problems. The news hit us hard, but Sarah's unwavering support gave me strength. She accompanied me to every doctor's appointment, researched heart-healthy recipes, and even joined me in my prescribed exercise routine. Her love and care were the best medicine I could ask for. One day, as we walked slowly around the neighborhood park, I apologized for not being the active partner she deserved. Sarah stopped and cupped my face in her hands. "Tom," she said firmly, "I didn't marry you for your physical prowess. I married you for your heart, in every sense of the word. We're in this together, come what may." Her words reminded me that true love isn't about perfect health or youth. It's about standing by each other through life's ups and downs. As we approached our 5th wedding anniversary, Sarah and I decided to start a blog sharing our story. We wanted to inspire other seniors to remain open to love and new beginnings. To our surprise, our blog took off. We received messages from people all over the world, some rekindling old relationships, others finding new love in their later years. "Your story gave me hope," one reader wrote. "I reconnected with my college sweetheart after reading your blog. We're going on our first date next week." Sarah and I were touched. We never expected our personal journey to impact so many others. It gave our love story an even deeper meaning. As the years passed, Sarah and I settled into a comfortable rhythm. We had our routines: morning coffee on the porch, afternoon walks when weather permitted, evenings spent reading or watching old movies. But we never took our time together for granted. Each day was a gift, more precious because we knew how easily we could have missed this chance at happiness. One night, as we lay in bed, Sarah turned to me. "Do you ever regret that we didn't find each other sooner?" she asked. I thought for a moment. "No," I replied honestly. "Our time apart shaped us into the people we are now. And I love who we are together, right here, right now." Sarah smiled and snuggled closer. "Me too," she whispered. On our 10th wedding anniversary, 60 years after we first fell in love as teenagers, our families threw us a surprise party. The backyard was decorated with photos from our high school days alongside recent pictures of us. As I looked around at our children, grandchildren, and even a few great-grandchildren, I was overwhelmed with gratitude. This beautiful, Blended family existed because Sarah and I found our way back to each other. During the party, our oldest granddaughter asked us to share the secret to our lasting love. Sarah and I exchanged a glance, silently agreeing on the answer. "There's no secret," I said, taking Sarah's hand. "Just be open to love, no matter your age. And when you find it, cherish it every day." Sarah nodded. Love isn't about perfect timing or ideal circumstances. It's about two people choosing each other again and again through all of life's seasons. As the sun set on our celebration, casting a golden glow over our gathered loved ones, I knew that our story wasn't just about Sarah and me anymore. It had become a testament to the enduring power of love, a reminder that it's never too late for a new beginning, for a happily ever after. Our journey had come full circle, from teenage sweethearts to senior newlyweds, and every moment, even the years apart, had led us to this perfect, love-filled life we now shared. And as I looked into Sarah's eyes, still sparkling with the same light I'd fallen for 60 years ago, I knew that our greatest adventure was still unfolding, one day at a time. As we entered our 80s, Sarah and I found a new calling. Our blog had grown into a popular website for senior relationships, and we were invited to speak at community centers and retirement homes. We shared our story, but more importantly, we listened to others. So many seniors felt lonely or had given up on love. We made it our mission to inspire hope. "It's never too late to open your heart," Sarah would say, her hand warm in mine. "Love doesn't have an expiration date." I'd add, "And sometimes, the love of your life might be someone from your past. Don't be afraid to reconnect." Watching faces light up with renewed optimism was incredibly rewarding. We might be older, but we were still making a difference in the world. Our grandkids thought it was hilarious when they caught us trying to figure out how to use dating apps. Not for ourselves, of course, but to understand what our blog readers were experiencing. "Grandpa, you swipe right if you like someone," our teenage granddaughter explained, giggling. I looked at Sarah, bewildered. In our day, we just passed notes in class. This led to a wonderful idea. We started a Tech for Seniors and Love series on our blog, helping older adults navigate the world of online dating safely and confidently. It was a learning experience for us too. Sarah even set up an Instagram account to share our daily moments. "If we can do it, anyone can," she'd tell our readers. As we aged, health issues became more frequent. Sarah developed arthritis, making it painful for her to do simple tasks. I started to have memory lapses, which frightened us both. But we discovered that physical touch had an almost magical effect. When Sarah's hands hurt, I gently massaged them. When I felt confused or forgetful, her embrace would ground me, bringing me back to the present. We started incorporating more touch into our daily routine, holding hands during our morning coffee, slow dancing in the living room to our favorite oldies, cuddling as we watched TV. "Touch is its own language of love," Sarah mused one evening. "It says, 'I'm here,' without words." I nodded, realizing how much these simple gestures meant, especially now. Despite the challenges of aging, we made a pact to find humor in our daily lives. We'd laugh about our forgetfulness, making it a game to remember things together. "Hey, Tom," Sarah called out one morning. "What's that thing called, the one that tells time but isn't a clock?" I pondered for a moment. "A watch." "Yes," she exclaimed. "I watched you forget your watch." We burst into laughter. These silly moments kept our spirits high and our bond strong. We even started a senior jokes section on our blog, believing that shared laughter could be as powerful as shared love in keeping relationships vibrant. As my memory issues progressed, we feared losing precious moments of our rekindled love story. So, we started writing letters to each other every week, documenting our thoughts, feelings, and favorite moments. These letters became a tangible record of our love, something we could revisit on tough days or share with our family. They also became content for our blog, showing others the importance of expressing love regularly, especially in long-term relationships. "My dearest Tom," one of Sarah's letters began, "Today, you forgot where you put your glasses, but you remembered the exact shade of blue my eyes were on our first date 65 years ago. That's the man I fell in love with twice." Reading her words, I was filled with gratitude for this wonderful woman who chose me, again and again. As we approached our 90s, we knew our time together was growing shorter, but instead of fear, we felt a deep sense of peace and gratitude. We spent our days quietly, often sitting on our porch swing, watching the neighborhood children play. We'd reminisce about our own childhood, our time apart, and the beautiful life we'd built together. You know, Sarah, I said one evening as the sun painted the sky in brilliant golds and pinks, finding you again was the greatest gift of my life. Sarah squeezed my hand. And loving you has been my greatest adventure. As the golden light faded into dusk, we sat in comfortable silence, two hearts beating as one, grateful for every moment we'd shared and every moment yet to come. Our story wasn't ending. It was evolving. In the letters we'd written, the lives we'd touched through our blog, and the love we'd nurtured in our family, our legacy would live on. And as the first stars appeared in the twilight sky, Sarah and I knew that our love story, 65 years in the making, would continue to inspire others long after our own sunset. In the end, our reunion after 50 years apart wasn't just about rekindling an old flame. It was about the power of love to transcend time, to heal, to inspire, and to create beautiful new beginnings at any age. As we sat there, hand in hand, we were living proof that it's never too late for a happily ever after. As we entered our mid-90s, our health began to decline more rapidly. Sarah's arthritis worsened, confining her to a wheelchair, while my memory lapses became more frequent and prolonged. Yet, our love remained as strong as ever, adapting to these new challenges. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves outside our window turned golden, Sarah took my hand and spoke softly, "Tom, my love, I think it's time we talked about the future." I knew what she meant. We had always been honest with each other, and now was no time for pretense. We spent that day planning, not with sadness, but with a sense of completion and gratitude. "Promise me," Sarah said, her eyes shining with unshed tears, "that you'll keep sharing our story. People need to know that love like ours is possible." I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. That night, we fell asleep in each other's arms, as we had done every night for the past 25 years. 3 days later, Sarah passed away peacefully in her sleep. As I held her hand one last time, I whispered, "Until we meet again, my love." The days following Sarah's passing were a blur of grief and love. Our families rallied around me, offering support and sharing memories of Sarah. But even in my sorrow, I remembered my promise. With the help of our grandchildren, I began to compile our letters, blog posts, and memories into a book. We titled it Love Knows No Time, the Tom and Sarah story. As I worked on the book, I felt Sarah's presence guiding me. In a way, it was like having one last conversation with her, reliving our beautiful journey together. 6 months after Sarah's passing, our book was published. To my amazement, it became a bestseller. I started receiving invitations to speak at events, not just about senior relationships, but about love, resilience, and the power of second chances. Despite my advancing age and health issues, I found new purpose in sharing our story. Each time I spoke, I felt Sarah right there with me, her love giving me strength. At one event, a young woman approached me with tears in her eyes. "Your story gave me the courage to reconcile with my estranged father," she said. "Thank you for showing us that it's never too late to love." Moments like these reminded me that our love story continued to touch lives, just as Sarah had hoped. On what would have been our 30th wedding anniversary, my family organized a special event. They had set up a small gathering in our backyard, the very place where Sarah and I had exchanged vows all those years ago. As I sat in my wheelchair, surrounded by children, grandchildren, and even great-grandchildren, I felt a profound sense of peace. Our blog was now run by our granddaughter, continuing to spread the message of love and hope to seniors around the world. I looked up at the sky, imagining Sarah's smile. "We did it, my love," I whispered. "Our story lives on." That evening, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and pink, just like the sunsets Sarah and I used to watch together, I felt a gentle breeze caress my cheek. In that moment, I knew that our love had truly transcended time and even death itself. As I approached my 100th birthday, I marveled at the life I had lived. From a love-struck teenager to a widower rediscovering love, to an author and inspirational speaker in my twilight years, every chapter had been a gift. Our story had sparked a movement. Senior centers around the country were hosting second chance socials. Online platforms had created special features for reconnecting old friends and flames. People of all ages were inspired to value love and connection more deeply. On my 100th birthday, surrounded by 4 generations of our blended family, I blew out the candles on my cake and made a wish, not for myself, but for all those still searching for love. May they find the courage to open their hearts, I thought, no matter their age or circumstances. As the celebration continued around me, I closed my eyes and saw Sarah's smiling face. In my heart, I knew that someday we would be reunited again. And when that day came, we would have so many new stories to share. Our journey, from high school sweethearts to soulmates reunited after 50 years, had been more beautiful than any fairy tale. It proved that love doesn't dim with age. It only grows richer and deeper. And as I looked out at the family our love had created, the lives we had touched, and the legacy we would leave behind, I knew that our story would continue to inspire long after I joined Sarah in whatever adventure awaited us next. For love, true love, knows no boundaries, not time, not distance, not even the divide between this world and the next. In the end, Sarah and I had not just found each other again. We had discovered the timeless, endless nature of love itself. And that, dear friends, is the greatest happily ever after of all. As I celebrated my 100th birthday, I found myself in a reflective mood. The party my family had thrown was wonderful, but in the quiet moments afterwards, I sat in my favorite armchair, surrounded by photos and mementos of my life with Sarah. I picked up our old high school yearbook, smiling at our young faces full of hope and promise. Then I looked at a more recent photo, taken on our 25th wedding anniversary. The faces were older, lined with experience, but our eyes still shone with the same love. "Oh, Sarah," I whispered, "what a journey we've had." That night, I dreamed of Sarah. We were young again, dancing at our high school prom. But as we twirled, we aged, our hair graying, our steps slowing, but our smiles growing wider. When the dance ended, we were as we had been in our final years together, older in body, but with hearts as young as ever. I woke with tears in my eyes and joy in my heart. A few weeks after my birthday, I received a letter that took my breath away. It was from a woman named Emily, who had been Sarah's best friend in the years we were apart. "I've been following your story," she wrote, "and I wanted to share something with you. In all the years I knew her, Sarah never stopped loving you. She kept a photo of you two at prom in her bedside drawer. I think, in her heart, she always hoped you'd find each other again." Emily's letter opened up a new world for me. Through her, I learned about Sarah's life during our years apart. Her triumphs, her struggles, her enduring spirit. It was like discovering a missing chapter in our love story. We began corresponding regularly, and Emily's stories helped me feel connected to Sarah in a new way. It was a reminder that love leaves ripples that continue long after we're gone. As my great-grandchildren grew, they became increasingly curious about Sarah and our story. One day, my great-granddaughter Lily, a budding filmmaker at 16, approached me with an idea. "Great-grandpa," she said, her eyes shining with excitement, "I want to make a documentary about you and great-grandma Sarah. Can you tell me everything?" Over the next few months, Lily and I spent hours together. I shared stories, showed her old letters and photos, and even took her to some of the places that had been special to Sarah and me. Watching Lily work, I saw echoes of Sarah's creativity and determination. It felt like our story was being passed on to a new generation, ensuring that the lessons of our love would continue to inspire. As I neared my 102nd birthday, I began to feel that my own journey was coming to an end. But rather than fear, I felt a sense of anticipation. I had lived a full life, loved deeply, and left a legacy. Now, I looked forward to my reunion with Sarah. One sunny afternoon, as I sat in the garden Sarah and I had planted together, I felt a familiar presence. I looked up to see Sarah, young and radiant, holding out her hand to me. "Ready for our next adventure, Tom?" she asked, her smile as bright as ever. I stood up, suddenly free from the aches and pains of my aged body. Taking her hand, I felt the same spark I had felt over 80 years ago when we first fell in love. I've been ready for years, I replied, squeezing her hand. As we walked together into a bright light, I took one last look back at the world we were leaving. I saw the garden we had tended, the home we had shared, and through the window, I could see our family gathered, supporting each other. I smiled, knowing that our story would live on through them. Our love had created a legacy that would continue to grow and inspire for generations to come. Sarah and I found ourselves in a place beyond time and space, where love was the only currency that mattered. Here, we were able to relive our most cherished moments and create new ones. We danced at our high school prom again, shared our first kiss by Miller's Creek, and relived the joy of our reunion after 50 years. But we also experienced new adventures, exploring the cosmos hand in hand and witnessing the unfolding of human history from a unique vantage point. From this perspective, we could see the impact of our story rippling through time. We watched as Lily's documentary inspired countless others to seek out lost loves and open their hearts to new beginnings. We saw our great-great-grandchildren reading our letters and learning about the enduring power of love. And through it all, our love continued to grow and deepen, transcending the boundaries of life and death. Back on Earth, our story became legend. It was shared in books, movies, and even taught in schools as an example of the enduring power of love. But more importantly, it lived on in the hearts of those we touched. Couples facing challenges found hope in our perseverance. Seniors discovered that it's never too late for love. Young people learned the value of deep, lasting connections in an increasingly fast-paced world. Our family continued to grow, each new member carrying a piece of our legacy. They lived by the principles we had taught: that love is patient, love is kind, and true love knows no boundaries. And so, dear reader, as you come to the end of our tale, remember this: love is the greatest adventure of all. It has the power to transcend time, overcome obstacles, and touch countless lives. Whether you're 17 or 70, never stop believing in the magic of love. For in the end, it's not about the years in your life, but the life in your years. And a life filled with love is a life well lived indeed. Years passed on Earth, and our story continued to touch lives in ways we could never have imagined. Lily's documentary, Love Knows No Time, the Tom and Sarah story, became a global phenomenon. It was translated into dozens of languages and screened at film festivals worldwide. The film sparked a movement, inspiring people of all ages to reconnect with lost loves and remain open to new beginnings. Our great-granddaughter's success led her to create a foundation in our names. The Tom and Sarah Foundation focused on connecting isolated seniors, funding research on loneliness and its health impacts, and promoting intergenerational relationships. One of the foundation's most popular programs was the Letters of Love initiative. Inspired by the letters Sarah and I wrote to each other in our later years, the program encouraged people to write letters to their loved ones, creating tangible memories and expressions of love. Meanwhile, our family continued to grow and thrive. Our descendants, now spanning 6 generations, held annual reunions where our story was retold and celebrated. They came from all walks of life, but each carried with them the lessons of love, perseverance, and the importance of second chances that Sarah and I had embodied. In the realm beyond, Sarah and I watched these developments with joy and wonder. We saw how our simple love story had become a beacon of hope for so many. "Tom," Sarah said to me as we observed another successful Tom and Sarah Foundation event, "I never imagined our love could touch so many lives." I squeezed her hand, feeling the same spark I'd felt for over a century. Love multiplies, Sarah. The more you give, the more there is. We continued our eternal dance, our love growing ever stronger as we watched over our earthly legacy. We saw couples reuniting after decades apart, inspired by our story. We witnessed elderly people finding companionship and joy through the Foundation's programs. We observed young couples learning the value of patience and perseverance in love. One day, as we watched a young woman nervously reach out to her high school sweetheart after 30 years, Sarah turned to me with a mischievous glint in her eye. "What do you say we go on another earthly adventure, Tom?" she asked. Perhaps we could be reborn and fall in love all over again? I laughed, pulling her close. My dear, with you, every moment is an adventure. But if you're game, so am I. And so, hand in hand, we prepared to embark on a new journey, ready to experience the miracle of love once more. As we took the leap, we knew that whatever challenges we might face in our new lives, our love would find a way. It always had, and it always would. Back on Earth, a baby girl was born to one of our great-great-grandchildren. As she opened her eyes for the first time, those around her gasped in surprise. For in those tiny eyes, they saw a familiar spark, a spark of a love that had defied time, a love that was ready to bloom once again. And so, our story continues, an eternal testament to the power of love to transcend all boundaries, to heal all wounds, and to create beauty in the world. For in the grand tapestry of existence, love is the thread that connects us all, weaving patterns of joy, hope, and endless possibility. As you close this chapter of our tale, remember, every end is just a new beginning. Keep your heart open, for love has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. And who knows, your greatest love story might just be waiting around the corner, ready to unfold in the most magical of ways. After all, if a pair of high school sweethearts can find their way back to each other after 50 years, anything is possible in the realm of love. So go forth with an open heart, ready to write your own extraordinary love story. For in love, every moment is an eternity, and every story is timeless. Epilogue Part 2. The cycle begins anew. As Sarah and I embarked on our new journey, reborn into the world, our eternal souls carry the essence of our enduring love. Though we wouldn't remember our past lives, the core of who we were and the love we shared would remain intact, waiting to blossom once again. In a small town, much like the one where we first met, two babies were born on the same day, in the same hospital. A boy named Jack and a girl named Emma. Their parents, unknowingly, were distant descendants of our original families. As Jack and Emma grew, their paths crossed frequently. They attended the same schools, shared similar interests, and felt an inexplicable connection that neither could quite understand. At age 16, they found themselves working on a school project about local history. Their research led them to discover the story of Tom and Sarah, our story. Isn't it amazing? Emma said, her eyes shining as she read about our reunion after 50 years. To think that love could be so strong. It could bring two people back together after so long. Jack nodded, feeling a strange flutter in his heart. Yeah, it's like they were meant to be together, no matter what. As they delved deeper into our story, they felt increasingly drawn to each other. It was as if our tale was awakening something within them, a recognition of a love that transcended time. On their high school graduation day, Jack finally gathered the courage to ask Emma out on a date. As they shared their first kiss under the same oak tree where Tom and Sarah had once carved their initials, a sense of déjà vu washed over them. Little did they know that they were embarking on their own epic love story, one that would echo through time, just as ours had done. Meanwhile, the Tom and Sarah Foundation continued its work, now under the leadership of our great-great-grandson, Michael. He had expanded the foundation's reach, creating a global network of support for seniors seeking companionship and love. One day, while giving a speech at a foundation event, Michael spotted two teenagers in the audience, listening intently. Something about them caught his eye, a familiar spark that reminded him of the old photos of Tom and Sarah. After the speech, he approached them. "Hi there," he said warmly. "I'm Michael. What brought you two to this event?" The girls smiled brightly. "I'm Emma, and this is Jack. We're doing a school project on love stories that change the world, and well, the story of Tom and Sarah seemed like the perfect subject." Michael's heart swelled with emotion. He spent the next hour sharing personal anecdotes and family stories with Jack and Emma, watching in wonder as their eyes lit up with each tale. As Jack and Emma left the event, hand